So what we have here is the new UMX Timber from E-flite, the new micro version of the Timber. Now I have to admit I didn't even know this existed till yesterday. I went into, it's Labor Day today, I went into Toronto for a family thing yesterday, and I stopped off at Great Hobbies on the way in Mississauga and ran across this and went ahead and bought it because I like the full-size timber. A good micro, good two-cell, brushless micro is always nice. So we'll see. The battery goes in the front here. It's unfortunately rather windy today. Let's see if putting it down behind the box here will shelter it from the wind a little better, because it's not... It's pretty windy, unfortunately. It's milder, but it's windy. Yeah, I think that consented to initialize itself. The hatch goes on at the back and then goes down with batteries at the magnets at the front. It makes me a wee bit nervous, telling the truth. Where does it go? There we go. As you can see, he's got all sorts of lights here, similar to the regular Timber. He's got two lights on the front, he's got blinking lights and coloured lights on the end of the wing, and this light on top, and a light on the bottom. So, pretty full range of lights. It is rather windy now. I have not put the leading edge slats on this guy. See, these marks in the front of the wing are where the leading edge slats can be glued on. With the big Timber, I glued them right on, so I never flew in without the slats. I thought I'd fly this guy with slats before I put them on. It is moderately windy, sort of 20 kilometers an hour gusting upwards. One thing I'm not overly overjoyed about with him is the flaps use this arrangement, see, with the wire coming out there, and you can see the flaps are not entirely even as it is. The right one is further up than the left one, and there's really not, the only way you could possibly adjust that would be to try and bend the wire, and I'm dubious about trying to bend the wire. The other thing is these little, I don't think you can even see that, these plastic covers that cover the servos. Those tend to be an issue. Both of them have fallen off and got lost on my UMX J3 Cub, which I love. These are transparent ones. One of these had already fallen off in the box. I glued it back on, but one of them, when I opened the box and first unpacked it to bind it and whatever, one of those had already fallen off. They have a tendency, for whatever reason, not to stick very well to the foam and to fall off. And I lost both of them off my J3 Cub. I think we'll try and take this guy off across the runway, since the wind is coming from the south, and I'm assuming he's going to take off quickly. We'll see. And God, my strap is trying to trick me. Oh, what's wrong? Wrong switch. I'm going to say we'll put some flaps on, I guess.
Takeoff flaps.
I don't know. I'm sure he'd take off perfectly fine without the flaps, but whatever. Oh, take throttle cut off would probably help. Generally speaking, I'm not wild about maidening planes in windy conditions, but I would hope this guy will be able to handle them pretty well. Oh, he certainly takes off quickly, and that's without the slats. See, this is the... whoops. Yeah, that's in stabilization mode. Put the flaps up, though. You can certainly still see those lights. But it is windy. Whoa, it certainly is windy. It certainly is windy. I mean, he's at about 2/3 throttle. Maybe not 2/3, a little over half throttle. He's barely coming upwind at all. Oh well, whatever. Let's take the stabilization off. Don't even have stabilization on the J3 Cub, which is well, there's AS3X, but there's no safe mode. Yeah, well, this guy seems pretty controllable for sure. I don't know whether or not I'd put the slats on this guy. I mean, you know, I mean, with something like this, I mean, yes, leading edge slats give more lift. There's no doubt about that. They do give additional lift. Absolutely, they do. But, you know, do you want more lift, really? And one thing I found with the big timber is it's almost, well, actually for me at least, I found it pretty much completely impossible to do an outside loop with them with the slats on, because you just got so much lift. You don't know your down ailerons. You can get him to loop down. You get him upside. You put the down ailerons on. You get him upside down at the bottom of the loop, but then he doesn't have enough strength to get back up. We're really going up there because we're just fighting into the wind and it's just pushing us up. I don't think on my maiden flight I'm going to even try and perform an outside loop with this guy. I like to feel really comfortable with the plane before I start trying to do outside loops with it. I can do outside loops with the J3 Cub. J3 Cub does that with the floats on. The J3 Cub does outside loops with the floats on fine. Now this guy does not come with floats. Well, you wouldn't expect him to particularly. The only reason you might expect him to is that the big timber does come with floats, but this guy doesn't. He comes with an extra. He comes with the fittings for floats on his fuselage, and he comes with an extra strut to adapt the UMX floats for him. For some reason, I don't know, they didn't put the fitting they put on doesn't fit the standard strut, so they gave you an extra back strut. I think it's a back strut. I don't know, I didn't really look at the instructions. It might be a front strut for all I know, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, I changed my mind there about what to do. I just rather have him farther in front of me before I start looping and things. I prefer to loop going across in front of me, but with the wind where it is, I mean, that's, you know, he's very controllable, I must say. So far I'm quite happy with him, considering I'm flying him in he's a smallish plane. It's not that small though, he's about the biggest of the UMX planes I've had, I think. His wingspan is, what, 27 point something inches? You know, which is not enormous, but it's not tiny for a UMX plane. I'm not sure how it compares to the J3 Cub. Of course, he has a bigger chord than the J3 Cub as well, which makes him look bigger. You know, but considering we're flying him, oh, what did the timer say? Especially since we're flying him in all this wind, we shouldn't push the time too much. 3, that was 4 minutes, I guess, 3.2. And I got the timer set at 7. I believe the manual actually said 6, but a couple of people online said 7 seemed quite achievable. And also I'm flying in with a 300 milliamp hour battery, which is at the high end of what you'd normally fly him with. So I would expect he'd probably be I expect he'd probably be okay with 7. Yeah, I mean, so far he seems extremely controllable. And of course, the nice thing, this is the first time they've ever released a UMX plane, I think, with seriously big wheels that will actually work on grass. This guy, although he's a micro plane, his wheels actually work on grass. I took him off grass on the wheels. So you don't have to put the floats on him just to take off and land on grass. The UMX J3 Cub, basically, you know, I love that plane, but it won't really take off on grass with the wheels. But this guy's got these big, well, relatively big for his size, tundra tires on, so he will actually take off on grass with the wheels. His back wheel's still tiny, but it didn't catch in the grass because it's not got much weight on it. So I was, you know, very pleased with that. I've got a spare set of the floats. You know what, I'm going to put him back into stabilized mode now. I'm going to cheat and put him back in stabilized. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wind really blowing him away there. It's quite windy. Quite windy. Quite windy here. And I turned him there, and the wind really just blew him sideways like nobody's business. Can barely fight his way upwind. Yeah. Too high. Yeah. Well, we managed to land him without tipping him over. I brought him in a bit too high there, because, well, I was having trouble bringing him down against the wind. Would he taxi on the grass? Suppose there's no harm trying. Got to be careful you don't take him off. You got to be careful you don't take him off, of course, because he doesn't need... oh, terrific! Now I managed to turn him upside down, taxiing him. Well, it is windy. But he was taxiing on the grass till I turned him and the wind got under his wing. Yuck, now he's all wet. No good deed goes unpunished, really. Well, it was a good deed, but I was just trying to taxi him on the grass, but it's because it's like, you know, I know on water, I know you've got to be very careful. That happens all the time on water. You get the wind under a wing and it tips you, but it usually doesn't. With most planes, it's not that prone to happening on grass, but it's pretty windy today for a plane this small. Well, so far, I'm very pleased with that. You can't complain about that. This could turn out to be an extremely good plane indeed. We were just over 6 minutes there on the timer. Just over 6 minutes. Oh, let's just run the throttle a bit more. Alright, I'm gonna have to get some cloth and wipe this guy off. He's wet all over now with tipping him upside down. I just put the battery basically on the Velcro in the middle there, and that seems to balance him quite nicely. So just over the six minutes we used there. Oh, this doesn't have a balance plug, so I can't test it till I get home, unfortunately. Anyway, very pleased so far. Wish it were a bit less windy this morning, but what can you do? But, you know, he didn't have any problem with it really. Well, I mean, you know, he's a small plane. He got blown away a bit and was having a little bit of trouble fighting his way upwind, but really had no trouble coping with it, basically. I think they got a winner with this one, basically. Yes, I think this is a very nice little microplane, and I will put floats on him. Although, because he works so well off the grass with the wheels, I probably wouldn't keep the floats on all the time. I'll probably just put the floats on him mainly to try and fly him off water at some point. But I think for general flying off grass, since he can actually do it with those tundra tires, I mean, look at those wheels. They're nice. So we'll keep those on mostly, I think. But since I've got the floats anyway, I've got the set I had on the Cub S that I took off, I'll probably try and put them on this guy for the next float fly and get him off the water then as well. I had the big timber off the water.